In the year 3247, humanity had long since abandoned its cradle. Earth was a distant memory, a ghostly relic whispered about in hushed tones on colony worlds scattered across the galaxy. It was said that Earth had been consumed by its own hubris, pollution choking the skies, oceans rising to swallow cities, and wars scorching the land until it could no longer sustain life. But those were just stories now, passed down through generations like myths of gods and monsters. Few believed they held any truth. Kyle Voss did. A young historian stationed at Proxima Centauri Station, Kyle spent most of his days buried in archives, piecing together fragments of humanity's forgotten past. While others dismissed Earth as irrelevant, Kyle saw it as the key to understanding who humanity truly was and perhaps where it was meant to go. His obsession earned him ridicule from colleagues, but he didn't care. He knew there was something important waiting to be uncovered, hidden beneath layers of time and misinformation. On this particular day, Kale was poring over Ancient Star charts when an alert flashed across his console. At first, he thought it was another routine system update, but then he noticed the timestamp. The signal had come in just moments ago. Curious, he tapped the notification open. What he saw made his heart race. A ship, a massive, battered vessel, was drifting toward Proxima Centauri Station. Its design was unmistakable, sleek yet utilitarian, with sweeping curves that spoke of advanced engineering. This wasn't one of the colony ships that ferried settlers between stars. No, this ship belonged to an era long before humanity's exodus, an era when Earth still burned bright in the night sky. The name painted across its hull confirmed it. Eos. Kyle froze. He'd read about the Eos in fragmented logs, cryptic entries buried deep within classified databases. Sent out centuries ago on a secret mission to explore uncharted space, the ship had vanished without explanation. Some believed it had been lost to cosmic radiation. Others speculated it had fallen victim to pirates or alien forces. Whatever the case, the Eos was supposed to be gone forever. And yet here it was. Captain Solon. Kale called into his comlink, his voice trembling, despite his efforts to remain calm. You need to see this. Chapter 2. The Arrival Captain. Lyra Solon stood on the observation deck of Proxima Centauri Station, her sharp eyes scanning the viewport as the Eos drifted closer. She was a woman of action, her every movement deliberate and calculated. Her crew trusted her implicitly, knowing she would do whatever it took to keep them safe. But even she couldn't deny the unease creeping up her spine as she stared at the ghostly ship. "How old is it?" she asked, glancing at Kale, who stood beside her clutching a datapad. "At least 300 years, Kale replied, his voice tinged with awe. It was part of Project Horizon, a deep space exploration initiative during the final days of Earth's collapse. They sent several ships out beyond known space, but the Eos disappeared shortly after launch. There's almost no record of what happened." Lyra frowned. "Almost." Kyle hesitated, scrolling through the datapad. "There are rumors, whispers really. Some say the Eos encountered something out there, something beyond human comprehension. Others claim it was sabotaged by factions opposed to Earth's evacuation. Either way, it shouldn't exist anymore." "And yet," Lyra murmured, watching, as the ship came to a halt near the station's perimeter. Despite its age, the Eos appeared eerily intact, its surface scarred but not destroyed. What worried her more, however, was the faint energy signature emanating from its core, a pulsating rhythm that defied analysis. "We need to board it," Kale said firmly. "If we can recover its logs, we might finally understand what happened." Lyra turned to him, her expression skeptical. "Or we might walk straight into a trap. We don't know what's waiting for us inside." Before Kale could argue, another voice cut in. "I'll go." They both turned to see Dr. Elira Kane standing in the doorway, her arms crossed and her gaze steady. A xenobiologist renowned for her work on alien ecosystems, Kane had joined the station's research team only months ago. Her presence added credibility to the mission, though Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that Kane's interest went beyond scientific curiosity. You're sure? Lyra asked, narrowing her eyes. Kane nodded. Whatever's aboard that ship, it could hold answers about humanity's origins, and maybe even evidence of extraterrestrial contact. I'm not letting someone else take the lead on this. After a moment's hesitation, Lyra relented. Fine, but you follow protocol. If anything feels off, you pull back immediately. With that, the decision was made. Within hours, a small boarding party consisting of Kane, Kale, and 2 security officers prepared to enter the EOS. As they suited up, Kale couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and dread. This was everything he'd dreamed of discovering, but it also felt wrong, as though the ship itself was watching them. Chapter 3. Into the Unknown. The airlock hissed open, revealing a dimly lit corridor, bathed in red emergency lighting. The interior of the EOS was hauntingly silent, save for the occasional creak of metal shifting under the weight of time. Dust coated every surface, and the walls bore strange markings, symbols etched into the metal in jagged patterns. This isn't standard graffiti, Kane muttered, running her fingers over one of the symbols. It looks deliberate, almost ritualistic. Kale snapped a photo with his datapad, his mind racing. Could the crew have left these? Or maybe whoever, or whatever, took them? As they moved deeper into the ship, the atmosphere grew heavier, oppressive. The security officers exchanged uneasy glances, their weapons drawn but useless against whatever awaited them. Even Kane, usually unflappable, seemed on edge. It wasn't until they reached the central command chamber that things took a turn. The room was dominated by a massive holographic display, frozen mid-projection. Faint images flickered across the screen, stars, planets, and shapes that defied logic. In the center of the display floated a single word, repeated over and over. Warning. Before anyone could react, the ship shuddered violently, throwing them off balance. Lights flared, and the hum of machinery filled the air. The hologram shifted, resolving into a map of the surrounding region. A blinking dot marked their location, while another point pulsed ominously nearby. "What is that?" one of the officers demanded, pointing at the pulsing dot. "I don't know," Kane admitted, her voice tight, "but I think it's trying to tell us something." Suddenly, the ship's AI system activated, its voice cold and mechanical. "Initiating transmission, coordinates locked." "No!" Kale shouted, lunging for the console. "We don't know what that signal does." But it was too late. The transmission fired, sending a burst of energy rippling outward. Outside, the station's sensors detected a sudden surge of gravitational distortion, a wormhole forming just beyond the EOS. Then everything went black. Chapter. Vanished. When Kale awoke, he found himself alone in the command chamber. The lights were dimmer now, casting long shadows across the room. Panic gripped him as he realized the others were gone, vanished without a trace. He stumbled to the viewport, his breath catching in his throat. The wormhole loomed large, its swirling vortex pulling debris toward it like a hungry beast. Worse still, the EOS was moving, drifting inexorably toward the anomaly. "Kyle," a voice called weakly. Turning, he saw Kane lying on the floor, clutching her head. Blood trickled from a gash above her eyebrow, but she was alive. "What happened?" she groaned, struggling to sit up. "The signal. It triggered something," Kale explained quickly. "We need to get out of here." But as they tried to reach the airlock, the ship jolted again, sealing them inside. The AI's voice echoed once more. "Destination secured. Initiating jump sequence." "No," Kane screamed, pounding on the walls. "We can't leave the station." Her words were drowned out as the wormhole engulfed the EOS, tearing it away from Proxima Centauri station. In the chaos, Kyle caught a glimpse of Captain Solin's face pressed against the viewport of her shuttle, her expression a mixture of rage and despair. Then the EOS was gone, swallowed whole by the void. Epilogue. Lost, again. Back aboard the station, Captain Solin watched the wormhole collapse, taking the EOS and her people with it. Her fists clenched at her sides, anger warring with guilt. She should have stopped them. She should have known better. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end. The Eos had returned for a reason, carrying secrets that bent the very fabric of reality. And wherever it had gone, it had taken Kale and Kane with it. For the first time in years, Solon wondered if humanity's future lay not among the stars, but back on the forgotten world they had left behind. The Eos collided with Proxima Centauri station in a shower of sparks and debris, its systems failing as the wormhole collapsed behind it. Captain Lyra Solon's ship docked moments later, her crew scrambling to stabilize the station and assess the damage. When Solon finally boarded the Eos, she found Kale and Kane huddled in the command chamber, their faces pale and haunted. "What the hell happened?" Solon demanded, her voice sharp with frustration and concern. "Where did you go? And why? Is my station falling apart?" Kale opened his mouth to explain but faltered, unsure where to begin. How could he describe the threshold, the architect, or the overwhelming sense that reality itself had shifted around them? "It's complicated," Kane said finally, stepping forward. Her demeanor was calm, though her eyes betrayed lingering fear. "We were taken to another dimension, a place outside normal space-time. There we encountered something ancient, intelligent. It calls itself the Architect." Solon crossed her arms, skepticism written across her face. "An alien entity? You expect me to believe that?" "It's not just an alien," Kale interjected, his tone urgent. "It claims responsibility for creating life, including humanity, and it's angry. Humanity abandoned Earth, severing its connection to, well, everything. That's why the universe feels so unstable now." Solon stared at him, her jaw tightening. "You're telling me some cosmic god is mad because we left a dead planet? Do you hear how insane that sounds?" Before Kale could respond, Ether's voice echoed through the chamber. "Captain Solon, your skepticism is understandable. However, the truth remains. Humanity must return to Earth. Only then can balance be restored." "Who or what are you?" Solon snapped, turning toward the nearest console. "I am Ether, custodian of the Eos. I have guided Kale Voss and Dr. Kane through the threshold. Their experiences are real, as is the threat posed by continued ignorance." Solon hesitated, glancing between Kale, Kane, and the glowing console. She wanted to dismiss it all as madness, but the evidence was undeniable. The Eos's impossible condition, the destabilized wormhole, and the cryptic messages etched into the ship's walls. Something extraordinary had occurred, and it wasn't over yet. "Fine," she said after a long pause. "Let's say I believe you. What exactly does this architect want from us?" "It wants us to return to Earth," Kane replied quietly, "to heal it, to restore our connection to the cosmos." "And if we don't?" Solon pressed. Kane exchanged a grim look with Kale. "Then the consequences will be catastrophic, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy." Chapter 2. Divided loyalties with the Eos docked and partially repaired, Solon convened a meeting aboard the station to discuss their next move. The group included key members of her crew, as well as Kale and Kane. Tensions ran high as opinions clashed. "We can't just abandon the colonies," argued Commander Rhea Voss, no relation to Kale, one of Solon's senior officers. "Millions depend on us for survival. We can't risk everything on some wild goose chase based on visions and cryptic warnings." "But what if they're right?" countered Ensign Dax Morrow, a young engineer who had studied fragments of the Eos's logs. "If there's even a chance this architect exists, and that it holds power over the universe, we owe it to ourselves to investigate." Solon listened silently, weighing the arguments. On one side stood pragmatism. The colonies needed protection. Resources were stretched thin, and risking the fleet on a speculative mission seemed reckless. On the other side stood possibility, the chance to uncover humanity's true purpose, and perhaps secure its future. Kale spoke up, his voice steady despite the weight of his words. This isn't about abandoning the colonies, it's about fulfilling our destiny. Earth isn't just a planet. It's the anchor that ties us to the greater web of existence. If we ignore this call, we'll lose more than a world. We'll lose ourselves. Kane added, "The architect showed me glimpses of what happens if we fail. Planets collapsing into black holes, stars burning out prematurely, entire civilizations erased. This isn't just about Earth, it's about survival." The room fell silent as the gravity of her words sank in. Even Commander Voss looked shaken. Ultimately, Solon made the decision. They would send a small expeditionary team back to Earth, but she insisted on leading it herself, unwilling to let others take such a monumental risk without her oversight. Chapter by Into the Abyss. The journey to Earth was fraught with tension and uncertainty. As the ships approached the ruined planet, the crew witnessed firsthand the devastation wrought by centuries of neglect. Once blue oceans were now toxic sludge, continents scarred by radiation and decay. Yet amidst the desolation, signs of life persisted. Strange alien flora and fauna that defied explanation. "This doesn't make sense," Kane muttered, studying readings from the surface. "Earth should be completely barren. These organisms, they shouldn't exist." "They're part of the architect's design," Kale suggested. "It's been preparing Earth for our return." As they descended, the air thickened with an eerie energy. The closer they got to the surface, the stronger the sensation became, a hum that resonated in their bones, as though the planet itself were alive. Upon landing, the team discovered a massive structure rising from the ruins of what had once been North America. It resembled nothing human-made, its crystalline spires reaching skyward like fingers grasping for stars. At its base lay a pulsating orb, similar to the one Kane had touched aboard the Eos. "This is it," Kane whispered, her voice trembling. "The heart of the architect." Before anyone could stop her, she stepped forward and placed her hand on the orb. Instantly, the ground quaked, and a blinding light enveloped them. When it faded, Kane was gone, her body dissolving into pure energy merging with the entity. "No!" Kyle shouted, rushing toward the orb, but before he could reach it, Kane's voice echoed in his mind. "Don't fear me, Kale. I am still here. The architect has chosen me to bridge the gap between humanity and itself. Together, we will guide you back to your rightful place." Chapter 4. Sacrifice and Revelation. With Kane transformed, the architect's message became clear. Through her, it revealed the full scope of humanity's role in the cosmic order. Earth wasn't merely a cradle, it was a nexus point, a hub connecting countless realities. By leaving, humanity had severed this link, causing ripples of instability throughout the multiverse. To restore balance, humanity must return, not to reclaim Earth, but to heal it. In doing so, they would reforge their connection to the architect and ensure the survival of all creation. But time was running out. The anomaly that had brought them here was collapsing, threatening to erase Earth entirely. Kane urged the team to activate the structure's core, using its power to stabilize the planet and seal the rift. "You'll need to stay behind," Kane told Kale, her voice layered with echoes. "Your knowledge of history and your bond with the architect make you essential to this process." Kale hesitated, torn between duty and fear. "What about you? Will you ever come back?" "I am no longer human," Kane admitted sadly. "But I will always be with you, in spirit, if not in form." As the countdown began, Solon and her crew prepared to evacuate, leaving Kale and a small contingent behind. Though reluctant, Solon knew it was the only way. Before departing, she clasped Kale's shoulder firmly. "Finish this," she said. "For all of us." With tears in his eyes, Kyle nodded. As the ships lifted off, he turned to the task ahead, ready to sacrifice everything for humanity's future. Kale stood alone in the crystalline structure, his heart pounding as the countdown ticked closer to 0. The air vibrated with energy, and the orb pulsed brighter with each passing second. Around him, the remnants of Earth trembled under the strain of collapsing realities. Cracks split the ground, glowing with an eerie blue light, while the sky churned with storm clouds laced with alien hues. Through Kane, the architect's voice, he received instructions for stabilizing the nexus. It required activating a series of conduits scattered throughout the structure, channeling energy into the core to seal the rift. But it was a race against time. If he failed, the anomaly would consume not only Earth, but the entire solar system. Cale worked. He couldn't shake the weight of solitude pressing down on him. He thought of Captain Solon and her crew, already en route back to Proxima Centauri Station. They carried with them the message of Earth's rebirth, a beacon of hope for humanity's scattered colonies. Yet here he was, separated from everyone. He knew, tasked with ensuring their survival. "Why me?" Kyle whispered aloud, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "You were chosen because you remember," Kane's ethereal voice replied, soft yet resonant. "You've always sought the truth, Kale. Now you must become its keeper." Her words gave him strength. He pushed forward, navigating labyrinthine corridors and solving intricate puzzles left by the architect. Each step brought him closer to understanding the entity's true nature, not as a vengeful god, but as a guardian seeking to preserve balance in the universe. Chapter 2. A new dawn with seconds to spare, Cale activated the final conduit. Energy surged through the structure, converging at the core. The orb erupted in a blinding explosion of light, bathing the ruins of Earth in radiance. For a moment, Cale feared the worst, that the process had failed and the planet would be torn apart. But then, something miraculous happened. The cracks in the Earth began to heal, sealing themselves as green shoots sprouted from the barren soil. Toxic oceans transformed, their waters clearing to reveal vibrant ecosystems teeming with life. Even the atmosphere shifted, becoming breathable once more. Earth was reborn, its wounds mended by the architect's power. "You did it," Kane's voice said, filled with pride. "The connection has been restored." Cale collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed by exhaustion and emotion. He watched as alien flora unfurled around him, their petals shimmering like stars. Birds, long extinct on Earth, returned, filling the air with song. It was as though the planet itself exhaled, relieved after centuries of suffering. But the transformation wasn't just physical. Through the architect's influence, Earth became more than a mere world. It was now a living repository of knowledge, a nexus where humanity could reconnect with the cosmos and rediscover its purpose. Chapter 3. Legacy. Months passed before Captain Solon returned to Earth, leading a delegation from Proxima Centauri Station. What they found astonished them. The once dead planet had transformed into a paradise unlike anything recorded in human history. Towering trees stretched toward the heavens, rivers sparkled with crystalline clarity, and cities built from organic materials blended seamlessly with the landscape. At the center of it all stood Cale, thinner but resolute, overseeing teams of scientists and engineers working to establish a new colony. When Solon approached him, she saw the toll the experience had taken, but also the peace in his eyes. "You stayed," she said simply, her tone softer than usual. "I had to," Kyle replied, gazing out over the lush terrain. "This is where I belong. Where we all belong." Solon nodded, her skepticism replaced by quiet admiration. "And Kane?" "She's part of the architect now," Kyle explained. "But she's still here, in every leaf, every breeze. She helped give us this second chance." Together they walked through the burgeoning settlement, marveling at how quickly humanity adapted to its renewed home. The architect had gifted them advanced technology, enabling sustainable living without harming the environment. More importantly, it had provided insight into humanity's role in the cosmic web, a reminder that their actions rippled outward, shaping realities far beyond their perception. Chapter 4. A Beacon of Hope. Years later, Earth flourished anew, serving as a symbol of unity for humanity's scattered colonies. News of its restoration spread across the galaxy, inspiring countless others to return and contribute to its rebirth. Scientists studied the architect's gifts, unlocking secrets that advanced medicine, energy production, and interstellar travel. Artists drew inspiration from the planet's beauty, creating works that celebrated humanity's resilience and potential. Kyle remained on Earth, dedicating his life to preserving its legacy. Though he sometimes missed the camaraderie of his old friends, he found solace in knowing he'd played a part in restoring balance to the universe. On quiet evenings, he climbed a hill overlooking the rejuvenated landscape, listening to the wind carry whispers of Kane's voice. Farther out in space, Captain Solon continued her duties, carrying the lessons of Earth with her wherever she went. She often reflected on the mission that changed everything, not just for herself but for all of humanity. The Eos, too, drifted silently among the stars, its purpose fulfilled yet ever watchful, ready to guide those who sought answers. In the end, Earth's return was more than a physical act. It was a spiritual awakening, a reminder that even in the darkest times there is always hope. Humanity had come full circle, reclaiming its roots while forging a brighter future. And somewhere, deep within the fabric of reality, the architect watched, satisfied that its children had finally embraced their destiny.